It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Columbia. This is Houston, AOS, over.
And so it's been a quiet couple of days for the Knicks. Not a ton to go over game-wise, but we do have some interesting comments that have come out in the last couple of days. I think the most interesting thing to get started on is the Knicks have finally released an update on Kristaps Porzingis' medical status with his torn ACL. Prognosis is looking like he'll be on track. He's looking good right now. On track for reevaluation in mid-February, just about a year after it had happened. Kyle, how are you feeling about Kristaps' injury status? Do you think this move by the Knicks is the right one?
I feel good about it personally. Doctors have said that it doesn't matter that he's 7'3" and has his kind of unique frame, and I get that. But the optics of it still, to me, just kind of feel like be as cautious as possible. So them kind of ruling him out through February, by saying he's going to get reevaluated middle of the month kind of makes me feel a little bit better about how cautious they're playing it. It makes it sound as though the earliest he'd come back is March. And as we've said all along, while we maybe don't agree with it fully, or at least I don't, if they wanted to bring him back for 10 or so games, sort of sporadically to let him finish the season and get a feel for things, that'd be fine. I'd prefer if they sit him entirely, but it is what it is. But I thought it was the right move. I thought that's exactly how you should be handling this. If you take this rebuild as seriously as you tell everyone you do, you make sure your one true asset is, 100% ready to go and healthy for the future as you plan to, actually sign legitimate free agents in their primes. Something we haven't done in what seems like ever, outside of Amari. Yeah. So I feel good about it. This just seems like the right way to play it.
I feel really good about the decision being made today. I feel like, this is a pretty obvious call, but we've seen what seemed to have been obvious calls from the Knicks front office, even in recent times, end up going the other way. I mean, we can point at the decision to stretch Noah earlier in the season and what ramifications that may have in the end. Like, we're not completely free of short-sighted Knicks management, but this decision to not rush him back on the court seems to be, or is, in my opinion, definitely the right move. I do think I disagree with your opinion that they should sit him the whole season. Again, I don't think that they will, but I do think that he could get some value out of playing 10 to 15 games to end out this year, even up to 20 or something like that. You ease him in, you play those first couple of games, keep him under 20 minutes, keep him under 15 minutes, whatever you have to do. But I think there will be a legitimate benefit to him playing at the end of this year, just so he can come into next season stronger and not feeling like he hasn't been on a basketball court in 18 months.
Yeah, I don't really have big issues with that, because if he does come back, he's going to be, generally they're going to bring him off the bench to begin with, right? So there's going to be 3 or 4 games minimum where he's going to come off the bench and play like really low minutes just to get back in. And then we're going to see him kind of slowly increase. But he's never going to play more than 20 or so minutes a night. They're not going to give him some sort of heavy workload as soon as he comes back. He's probably going to play really light minutes. And again, it's going to be at the end of the year. And not to say that those games are less physically impactful. But, I just feel like we see how a lot of teams mail it in those last couple of games. So yeah, that's a fine time to come back. And as long as it's not over the top, which I doubt that it would be, then that's fine. I may not like it, like the optics of it, but it's fine.
And also to be considered is that, the Knicks aren't exactly in great standing as far as the record is concerned, in terms of being a competitive team. At the moment, and after, it's starting to show, especially after losses to the Phoenix Suns and the Atlanta Hawks recently, that this team just isn't going to be able to compete. It's no secret to anybody. It's not news, but once they face this stretch they're going to be going through in January, like we've been talking about for a while, with games against, the Warriors and the Lakers and all sorts of teams out there, and a heavy West Coast trip. The Knicks are going to be. It wouldn't shock me if the Knicks ended up with less than 3 wins throughout all of January. And by that point, you wait for Kristaps to get reevaluated. It's not like this team is going to be playing competitive basketball. It's not like other teams are going to be competitive against the Knicks. There's certainly time to experiment and play around, and just getting KP out there, getting his legs, I guess very much acclimated, especially that one leg that he tore up. Getting him on the court for a little while, I think is going to be beneficial to how he starts off next season. Go ahead.
I was gonna say no. I mean, we'll see what happens, but they're playing it cautious, which is really all that matters for me.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about maybe. I don't know if we could call it playing it cautious, but not necessarily being the most optimistic as they've been earlier in the season. Steve Mills recently said in an interview that the Knicks are not. The Knicks could look towards 1920 or 2020 or 2021 to make a splash in the free agent market, and not necessarily be looking to sign somebody with max space in 2019. I think this is kind of an obvious. They don't know if they're going to sign Durant. Nobody really knows what Durant's going to do. Again, their smoke is out there, but it's still hard to see Durant leaving the Warriors. But Steve Mills wants to have all his bases covered. I think he's trying to say that he's not just going to go out there and sign any free agent if they don't get Durant, which is definitely a smart move. How did you interpret Steve Mills' comments?
No, what's sad is this is the exact right approach to how they should be handling this thing. And they did it backwards in how they came out with their statements. At the beginning of the year it was, no, we're basically we're going big game hunting. We're pursuing max free agents. We can make, we'll have room for 1. We can make room for 2. And they kind of came out guns slinging, and that was fine. That was we felt good about it. You have KP coming back, a couple of kids. Of course we want to hear that. Of course we want to hear that you're going to shoot for those guys, right? But they sounded really confident about it. And that's when those Durant rumors started to leak. And they sounded very confident. And now they came out with this statement, which there's nothing wrong with that, because the statement from Mills, the couple of noteworthy ones, were that they aren't going to sign any max-like free agent unless that player would be a dramatic difference maker to the team's fortunes, which, that's what you would hope they would do. That's not anything substantial. Of course we'd hope you don't do a Joakim Noah deal, And then he later said, we are in a position, if we need to find a slot for a max salary, we can do that. Our focus is on the guys that we have right now, developing them, and also developing the environment or the culture that exists around our team. If we don't make this a place that guys internally feel something good is happening and believe in what we're doing, that's not going to be attractive to people who are on the outside. And then the last thing he said here was, our guys have to feel it, and then, the free agents, have to hear about it and see it in how our guys are interacting with us. The plan is that we develop an environment that the free agents should want to be here. So it's just backwards, that's how the summer camp, training camp quotes should have been, that's how they should have led with. And then as the year progressed and they felt the culture was developing the right way, then they kind of could have been we have we have a max slot open. We can make 2 and, we have plans to do so. And that's sort of my thing is this isn't anything groundbreaking or substantial. It just sounds like it because it's sort of the opposite of what they said in the summertime, and it reads bad.
Yeah, it's like they put themselves into the running a little bit too early on. They talked all this game at the end of the summer and the beginning of the season and everything. It's kind of a way of putting themselves into position to be talked about with these max free agents, but now they're at a point where it feels like they're almost tapering off that. They're kind of pulling back. And of course they would love to sign Kevin Durant this summer, and if they have the opportunity to do it, they will. And it's good to hear reinforcement that they're not just going to go after anybody. But yeah, it seems like these saying things like that they're not going to go after everybody at this point after, all these signs are here of them trying to clear out cap space. And, they've been very adamant on their plans to make a move, make a splash in 2019. Even if it's not that Durant that you're ending up with, now it seems like that you might be, scaring off potential suitors. And even if you don't want to sign them, you don't necessarily not want to get in a conversation either. Because so many of these players too, the biggest part is just getting a meeting. If you're not regularly taking free agent meetings with these players and trying to go after these guys, you're not going to be looked at as a destination. The bigger players are not going to look at you in the future. So I think it is important this year for them to be taking, interviewing players, taking a look at the guys out there more than just Kevin Durant, but, primarily focused on him, and just be smart about who they're actually going to go after and sign. Just because they're talking to somebody doesn't mean that they have to sign them. It can just show that they are a team who's willing to negotiate and who's willing to be out on the market.
Exactly. I mean, you got to do due diligence. That's all that they've really been saying. They haven't been saying they guarantee anything. They haven't been saying that they're not going to take action. They're basically just saying, like, look, man, we're gonna see what happens.
I do think that when it comes to setting the culture, like Bills has been talking about, and setting the identity of the team, and everything that he has been discussing earlier on in his statements, that it's time to try to move out these big contracts. It's time to kind of make it known that you're trying to move some guys who are blocking the development of the younger guys. Because if you're trying to set this base and you're trying to be appealing to free agents who are going to be able to make their mark on this team and fill in the gaps that we have to fill in, you got to start showing what they are. You got to start playing your younger guys a little bit more. It's time to move players like Enes Kanter. It's time to move someone like Courtney Lee. It's not going to be the most popular thing in New York with some fans, and I'm sure the players are going to not feel as great about it who are on the team right now. But if you are looking forward, if you're facing forward here, if you're trying to get these other free agents to look at your destination as an appealing place to be, you got to clear the deck sooner than later and show them what's going to be left there, what they potentially could have that they could fill in around. Or who could fill in around them, I guess, too, when it comes to somebody like Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I mean, I saw somebody in our mentions recently going a little bit nuts about, well, if they miss out on Durant and these other, top-of-the-line free agents, and this is a failure. And I was just like, they're like, this roster stinks, and yeah, that's true, but a lot of them are young. The point is, of this season, everybody's on short deals or everybody's on team-controlled deals. Everything, really just... It's a beneficial situation aside from them needing to move Courtney Lee, and I don't know what they're going to do with Tim Hardaway, but I mean, the point is that this year sucks and that this team sucks, and you're just trying to find sort of individual pieces that are going to stick for next season and beyond. So that's the point of the year. We're just sort of throwing shit at the wall, and if a Moutier sticks and we can figure something out, if they swing and a miss on all the top free agents they were looking to get, then okay, now you take them. Maybe they, fall back in the draft to 3 or 4 and they miss out on, Zion and Barrett. Maybe, it's okay to retain a guy like Vonleh for a little bit more money than maybe you would hope for. It's okay. It's a decent spot with KP.
That for a while. With Vonleh, I've been in the camp that if he's going to get the kind of contract that what I'm expecting right now, especially if it's on the lower side of 8 to 12 million in that range, I'm of the opinion you keep Vonleh. You kind of work out the rest, and that's where not having stretched Noah and potentially finding a place to move him to could have helped out, because then that $6 million you just have in dead cap space could pay for a lot of what Noah Vonleh would be commanding, but. There's nothing you can do about that now because it's just an unmovable, sunk cost. But I mean, of course the cap space is very tight when it comes to trying to get somebody of a major max level free agent this summer. Durant's going to command $38 million to start with, and that's not going to be easy to make it all work. But if you don't get him and you're able to, keep a player who's proven to be impactful at pretty much every game through the beginning of the season in Noah Vonleh, or even if Moutier hangs on, like you're saying, and he's able to, re-sign with this team on a fairly similar deal, If as long as he's hanging on like this, he's proven to have earned that. And I think there's going to be a lot of evaluation with the front office when it comes to this summer on who realistically they should be keeping around and what realistic chance they have of going after these big free agents. But that being said, if you do have the opportunity to get Durant, you got to let these other guys go. And I think that's kind of why it's so frustrating that those late summer signings were all 1-year deals, where no one expected Noah Vonleh to come out and be a starter at this point in the season, but not having him on a 2-year deal or a team option deal right now is going to end up hurting the Knicks in the long run in their pursuit of more players to join this core.
Well, what's funny about the team option thing was, remember, everybody got mad at us in the summertime for saying the 1-year deal was fine. And they all said, well, they should have gotten a team option. Have the Knicks ever heard of a team option? And that was for Hazonia. Like, that was the only one that people argued about. Well, what if Hazonia finally breaks out this year and then he cashes out elsewhere? Then what? It's like, well, then he cashes out elsewhere. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing we can really do about that. And even with the team option, it's tough because I believe you have to renounce them. You'd have to renounce them anyway if they wanted to make room for a Durant. So they would, even if they had a team option like a Vonleh, they would have to renounce it and then kind of tell Vonleh, like, hey, we're going to try to sign you back. We'll let you know what we can offer after that. Like, that's sort of what happens there. So you have to sort of renounce and then start a new contract. So,
right, and you wonder, I'm sure the relationship between Noah Vonleh and the Knicks are good, but that is also asking a lot of a player. You're both asking him to wait on deciding what his future is going to be and accept less money just to come back and play for your team. And there are not a ton of players, and rightfully so, but there are not a ton of players in the league who are going to be okay with that. And it would be no indictment on Vonleh if he wasn't okay with that. But if that's what the Knicks are hoping for, then you got to have some contingency plans to go in there too.
Yeah,
I like Vonleh. I'd love to keep him around. Obviously, he could be a very realistic casualty of the potential of Kevin Durant coming here if that ends up coming to be a thing, or any other free agent of that caliber, and who would be commanding that kind of contract. But yeah, there are some realistic pieces on this team, and there are some unexpected contributors who look like they could do more going forward. And the decision who to keep around and who will be going is going to be not quite as cut and dry as I think we once thought it would be. Before we get out of here tonight, let's turn to the biggest occasion of the week. The Knicks continue tradition. They have a Christmas Day matchup. They will be playing the Milwaukee Bucks. Do you know what time the game is on at?
It should be noon.
They got the noon game? That's right. They do have the noon game this year. So Knicks and Bucks at noon. The last time this happened, Mario Hazonia stepped over Giannis, and there was this whole big thing about it. We might have made some T-shirts. And then Hazonia has completely disappeared from the lineup. So I don't know if we're going to necessarily get, Giannis versus Hazonia round 2, which is probably works out in our favor. But Knicks Bucks, what are we excited to see on Tuesday?
I just want to see same thing I've said the last couple of games. I just want to see Knox keep rolling. It just seems like even though he's only really effective in the first half, lately, the last week or so, he's had this strange scoring binge in the first quarter, and then he just fades off. But even still, with that, he had 24 and 6 the other night after having 21 in the first half. That's still a really, really, really good game for him. And I just want to see him keep rolling. Not just rolling, but these 20-point games where he's still being effective on the glass. That's what I want to keep seeing. We know the defense, his finishing around the rim, his really big weaknesses, and those are fine. Hopefully he learns and figures them out. But the way he's just shooting right now and the way he's been trying to attack the rim, a lot of dunks lately, it's just that's what we wanted to see. That's what we saw in the Summer League, and we were skeptical if it would translate, and now we're kind of seeing the same guy, and now he looks comfortable. Yeah,
he for sure looked nervous to begin the season, and then he was speaking about this the other day too, about the injury definitely set him back, and it took him a couple of weeks to look right out there, but I think he finally does. And the scoring drop off is cause for concern. The fact that he drops 19 in the first quarter the other day and then just disappears afterwards. But again, he is 19. It's a process. It's like he's going to have, especially this year, he's going to have points where he's going to start the game hot. He's going to heat up as the game gets along. He might have games where he doesn't score any points. He might have games where he just scores a consistent, 3-4 points in a quarter or something like that. But all to say is that he is scoring at least. How he learns how to develop it consistently. It's going to be a work in progress. But Kevin Knox is not going to be an all-star in season 1 as a 19-year-old.
Right. I mean, the other thing that I'm looking for as well in this one is Alonzo Trier is playing. They confirmed. He missed the last couple of weeks with a hamstring thing, so it's good to see him back. We've missed him quite a bit. Not just his offense, but he's been a pretty decent defender this year in the context of him being a rookie and not just straight up bad like we've seen from Knox at times. So to me, that's important. There's some important, wings and guards on the Bucks where, Bledsoe, after having a really down year last year, is playing really well now. Brogdon is really consistent. So it's just, you got to get up for it. So if we have all of our guards back and Dotson's back healthy now, so mostly just kind of seeing how those guys keep getting acclimated too, but very excited to have Trier back.
The other thing I'm interested to see on Milwaukee's side is George Hill playing for them now, too. I haven't caught up on what his stats have looked like since the trade there, but that's just another weapon to go alongside Bledsoe that I think they could use, and Brogdon there as well, that I think they'd be able to use to really get some impact, to get some perimeter scoring. I mean, that's exactly what you need around Giannis, so I like his fit there. I'm excited to see how he's going to play for them. I'm hoping that he will be relatively tame against us, of course. But the Bucks are in a different league right now. They are, firmly one of the front runners in the East, and it'll be a pretty exciting matchup to say the least. There's some heat and there's some fire between these teams. So I'm excited to see the matchup. Did you see that stat the other day, by the way, that Giannis has put on 51 pounds of muscle since coming into the NBA?
I did, and my initial reaction, besides "Are you kidding me?" was, "Man, I hope that kind of happens for Kristaps."
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that Kristaps has the same kind of athleticism that Giannis has. I don't think Kristaps necessarily has the same level of durability that Giannis has showed so far. But I think Kristaps can make a similar jump. I can definitely see him putting on a couple of pounds and being able to solidify himself more around the post, and just the way that Giannis spaces the floor, just the way that Milwaukee's offense is put together. I was watching them play the Celtics the other day too, and just Giannis just roaming the middle and all these shooters around him. It's just, God, they just know what they're doing. Shouts to Budenholzer really bringing it to them there. But Bucks are looking good. It'll be a tough matchup. It should be an exciting Christmas Day. And then game right after that too, we also play the Bucks.
Yeah, it's a home and home, is it not?
Yep, it's a home and home. Christmas at the Garden, and then head to Milwaukee. But yeah, it should be an exciting day. Should be an exciting matchup. It'll be good to see Trier back out there. And now there's just more questions about which guards get minutes.
Oh, for real, last thing before we get out of here, it doesn't even deserve a full-on conversation, but I just wanted to say something about the Jabari Parker rumors because
let's finish out on this.
Okay, so it was rumored that the Knicks expressed interest in Jabari Parker. I just want to get this out of the way pretty quickly that the only way that this deal would happen, because they have basically what's happening here is the Bulls can sit tight on Parker and just bench him in an already shitty year for them, and then he could just walk. Yeah, and he could just walk, and it's no sweat to them. They really could care less about Jabari Parker, right? So it's about what the Knicks can do for them in the situation. So to make the money work, we have to send a Tim Hardaway Jr., right? But they're not going to take Tim Hardaway Jr. So there's a lot of people tweeting us that it's never going to happen. They just paid Zach LaVine $80 million. They are not going to take Tim Hardaway Jr.'s, whatever he's going to have, $36 million left for those last 2 years. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to lock themselves into both those deals. So
right. I think what Knicks fans fail to recognize with this situation is that the Bulls are in just as bad, if not worse, of a situation than we are in right now, than the Knicks are in right now. And so it just doesn't make sense for them to take on contracts like that.
Well,
the only one, and I've really looked around for a bunch of things, and obviously the Knicks don't have second round picks to send out with any kind of contract to them either, so you don't really see, and they're not going to send them a first in any kind of Jabari Parker deal. So, that there's no real incentive there. The only one that I kind of could see that I think might make sense for the Bulls is Moutier and Lee together,
right?
And let them take a stab at Moutier. But then they also already have so much invested in Chris Dunn, and they have some point guards they're going to be working on with out there. So even that seems shaky at best. I feel like there could be other offers if they do want to move him, but it's like you said, there's no reason for them to truly move him and take on more money. It's they can just sit tight and let him walk, or they sit tight and waive him at the end of the season.
Yeah, and
or they'll just buy him out straight out. Like it's. No one's going to trade for him, and it's not like there's any, it's not like it's going to do him any harm to just waive him outright. So,
yeah. See, the Bulls are going to want. Everybody seems to. This happens every year with our mentions. As soon as there is a trade rumor, all you guys tweet us and go, "Well, why don't the Bulls just take all the shit that we don't want, and we'll just take the thing that makes our life easier, which in this case is Parker, because we can just waive him and get more cap space." But everybody's tweeting us and going, well, we need to get rid of Courtney Lee. So give them Courtney Lee and Lance Thomas, and we'll call it a day. Why would the Bulls do that?
Doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense. So please, guys, consider that. And
also,
the Bulls have to get something from this. It's not just giving them our shit.
The Bulls aren't trying to make our lives any easier. Like they are. We have similar records. We are expected to be competing again around the same time as the Bulls are. If all the cards work out. We're both in that team building phase. And the Bulls, I'm sure, are not sitting there trying to figure out ways that they can help the Knicks out when they know that in just a few years down the line, they're going to be, potentially competing at a competitive level again. It could be in the playoffs. It could be even further into the playoffs, the Bulls have no reason to be fortifying us right now or making our lives any easier unless we give them something that makes their lives easier. And we don't have anything to give.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much is what it comes down to. So, I mean, not a lot of these deals make sense unless there's some sort of draft compensation to factor in for the salary dump, or unless they bite on, us selling high on a Moutier. But it's really just not. There are better deals to be had for people who are probably going to be trying to clear salary. So,
without a doubt.
All right, anything else you want to get out of here?
I think we can wrap up. Do you have anything to plug?
Just
real quick before you do. Sorry, I know I just gave you the floor there, but I wanted to say before we forget that we have a new video series out on YouTube, and it's been floating around the timeline as well. TKW highlights getting put together at the end of games. Just check them out. Just good. We just try to pinpoint some of the more telling plays of the most recent game as soon as they're available to us, and put them out there for you guys to see. So, similar to things you've seen from us in the past, but now we're trying to bring it up to you guys again in smaller sample sizes and smaller clips. So, check those things out. They're on the YouTube channel, same place you can find this podcast at. And now I will for real give you the floor, Kyle.
Well, that was good. That was on my list. So,
okay.
No, but besides that, make sure you're following us on Twitter, on Instagram at the Knicks Wall. Make sure you like us on Facebook. We're there too. We've been doing a lot more there lately, so we'll, just another platform to follow us, do some different things over there. Make sure you subscribed and tune in for the Twitch channel. That's twitch.tv/the Knicks Wall. And just make sure you keep checking out theknickswall.com every day for the best original content. So, outside of that, have a very Merry Christmas, guys. And for the rest of you
enjoy
who
the game.
Just a good holiday or good couple of days off in general. And, I know everybody's rooting for the tank, but on the big games like this, the important games, I always like to see the win. So hopefully they can pull this one out.
There's some blood between these teams now, so it should be a fun watch at least. So hopefully you all don't get caught in a car heading out to see relatives like it's looking like my Christmas might be, and I I have a feeling I'm gonna. I do it every year. I remember listening to Shumpert's debut on the radio, and how disappointed I was at that time. I guess in hindsight, that wound has been healed. But get yourself comfy, get yourself a good drink, some good food, and chill in front of that TV, and let's see the Knicks take on the Bucks.
All right, guys, take it easy.